Hi Jason. Quick video I mentioned I wanted to make here. A bit of a wish list for this. I'll give you a look at this here. Maybe a video beats pictures. Okay. Going to go one thing at a time, I guess. Let's start with the main plate. The main plate, I did a small drawing here, small 2mm indent in the front, and that's purely for aesthetics. Maybe from here. Watch, if we look at the arms go to about here, about 5 or 6mm long by 2mm deep intrusion here. It'll cut down weight a little bit as well. These cutouts here, 1, 2, and 3. The 3 somewhat round cutouts. I would like to make them longer by 1mm on each end. So that basically means 2mm in total longer for each of them. So 1 mil, here, 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 and here. This again is going to cut down weight a bit. We're already doing well on weight, but having this in my hands, I can see that there's no breaking point anywhere near this stuff here. So we're good to cut out a bit more material there. These bolts on the bottom, I want to make that all countersunk, all of them. I really like the new bolts we're trying now. These bolts here, the way they countersink cameras. Oh, sorry, Dash. I'm having a hard time with the lighting here, guys. Bear with me. Okay. Yeah, these bolts here. What looks really nice, and I'd like to replicate this on the bottom. That'll be really nice. This thing here changes into a standoff. We've already discussed this. And then at the rear here, same thing. We put a little cutout for aesthetic. This one, only 1mm, 1mm deep, about 5 or 6mm wide, and a little bit narrower than the one in the front. You'll be able to go a bit bigger on the one at the front, and then a little bit shorter on the one at the back. At the front, again, 2mm deep. At the rear, 1mm deep. Countersunk everything. What else do I? Same thing with the top plate. We're going to do the same thing as we're doing with the main plate to the top plate here. Put that little intrusion at the top, but we're not changing the foam. And if you look, the way the foam fits on there right now, we've got a good millimeter, a good 1mm here of material that we could actually put little intrusion in there, and it'll end up being nice and even with the foam. No need to change the foam. So basically, just like here, 1mm indent, not indent, I guess. Anyways, a little cutout on there. Same thing with the top plate. HD plate. I don't like the aesthetic of it being perfectly rectangle, so we're essentially going to do the same thing with this, if we could, as we're doing here, is adding a little bit of profile. And as we look again at the foam here, we've got about 1 mil on this side, about 1 mil on that side, and that's all we're going to do, is go in on an angle, straight line, out on an angle, right, and cut out 1 mil of material about all the way to 5mm close to the titanium. So from the titanium in for about 5mm, we don't touch anything, then we cut in, cut out again. And same thing at the back part here, to create, basically to profile that plate a little bit to make it look nicer. We will not need to change the foam. What else do I have on my wish list? I think that's about it, really. Bolts I'm using now are too long, because these are 6mm, but the thread on titanium is so nice and strong that it's plenty. We've got plenty of beef there. These things aren't going to strip. Guys will strip the head of the boat here with their hex drive way before they'll strip the hull on this. Yeah, I think that is it on my wish list for this particular prototype here, so this means we're getting really close. This thing is awesome. It's just about nearly 10 grams lighter than the latest, I guess, version of the Chameleon, based on the revisions we made to the main plate of the Chameleon. The original Chameleon was lighter, but we beefed it up 2 times since then, so it's a bit heavier now than what we actually advertise on our website by now. Yeah, and then only one last thing now. This is something I'd like to explore it, not making any kind of proposition for this particular release. Well, perhaps an add-on that we could have on there. Maybe you're familiar with the XT60 aluminum mount that they use on the D-quads. It's basically an enclosure where the XT60 goes into it, and then there's a grub screw on the top. So it's threaded, it's fully 3D, and there's a grub screw through it that holds the XT60 in place. And then on top of that, there's 2 little leaflets on each side of it to actually bolt it down. Well, I was thinking, what if we did this here? What if we had a nice aluminum XT60 mount that mounts on these 2 bolts here? There's 2 reasons why I've actually came to think about this. One is because a lot of guys don't like to run their XT60 here. They feel it interferes with the HD cam, but if we had it at the right angle, it would actually use this as a backing for the HD cam, and there'd be no arguing that it's a good provision. And the other reason is that, of course, on quite a few of our latest releases now, the Japalura and the Chameleon and others before, we never have like a really nice XT60 provision. We did on the Chameleon, as long as we used the PDB with the soft mount XT60, that was nice, that was original. As soon as we started using the all-in-one flight controllers, we lost that, and we had to figure a way to wire this up, and we came up with putting it through here. But it would be nice to have a 3D mount at the right angle that would mount here and here, made of aluminum, for a hard-mounted XT60 here. This is something that would be real nice to explore. I mean, it may be too expensive, but I think it would be worth sending in and having a look what they would charge for this. And what we could do is maybe sell it as an add-on, make sure that we can still sell the frame at a good price point to hit the market, and then have a little add-on thing on there for guys who want to put their XT60 at this location. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my list. Big thank you, guys. Big thanks, Jason, of course. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.